All good?
Yeah.
Gregor, firstly, can you talk us through your team selection? A couple of guys missing out through injury. Talk to us about them and the guys coming in.
Yeah, well, Jack, who played very well against Wales, I thought that was one of his best ever games for Scotland, and was just getting back to full fitness. Had a massive game in terms of the physical outputs. He's unfortunately not turned around in time for the weekend. He had a tight hamstring during the game, and it just hasn't cleared up in time for Saturday. Another player who was injured was Sam Skinner, who would have been in the mix for selection. But it's a real good opportunity for Ben Moncas to come to the team, for Matt to start. He started a number of times for us, and for Marshall to be involved in the Six Nations for the first time. We've gone to a 6-2 split, which means that Jamie Dobie comes back in as cover for more than one position. Played in the wing against Ireland, and he's played wing and scrum half for the last couple of seasons.
You ideally don't want to be losing guys to injury, but at this stage of the championship, kind of a bit of new blood kind of help things?
Oh, well, we'll see. I think everybody has been putting their hands up in training, and during this run of games, we've not made many changes to the squad, so it can be a frustrating time for the players that haven't got the chance. But we always say to them, be ready. And Ben and Marshall in particular, because he's been with us the whole campaign, they have been shown in training and the opportunities they had for Edinburgh in the fallow weeks that they're ready for this opportunity.
France and Paris going for a championship under the lights, it's going to be a great occasion. What did you make of them in Dublin, and how big a challenge is this for you guys?
It is probably the biggest challenge right now in world rugby. I think when you put all the factors together, the French team at home are always a huge challenge. The way they're playing, even in their defeat, they scored a lot of points and could have scored a number more at Twickenham. They're playing a game of rugby that's really producing points and scores. They're physical. They're bringing obviously a fresh pack on at some stage in the second half, and they're going for the title. So it's a great game to go up against one of the best teams in the world at home.
So presumably, from what you're saying there, Scotland need their best ever performance if they're going to pull this off.
Well, yeah, it would require something like we've delivered in the past and big challenges in Paris a few years ago, at Twickenham a couple of years ago, but also some of the performances we've put in this year, and stretching that out for as long as possible would put us in a good position this weekend.
How do you get this elusive 80-minute performance? We saw for 50 minutes a brilliant Scotland performance, great spells down at Twickenham, some nice stuff against Italy, but it's these stretches where you've allowed the opposition into the team, and I don't imagine you'll be able to give France too many opportunities like that. Yeah,
but I think that's Test rugby. Like, it'd be disrespectful for the opposition that you're going to dominate for 80 minutes. We're playing against some quality teams, so momentum swings are going to go in the opposition's favour, and in particular when you're playing against top quality teams. So yeah, I think a lot we did last week against Wales and in the game against Twickenham, those are the basis of what we need to do this weekend.
Will your team kind of enjoy being, I guess, not the headline event? Everyone's tuning in, expect to see another massive performance from France on the way to the championship. Did it the chance to go there, spoil it a bit?
Yeah, and we're aware of the context of the game. The atmosphere will be amazing. We've experienced the atmospheres during the World Cup. We played France in a World Cup warm-up game, and that was a pretty special atmosphere. We played at Stade de France in the past, and this will be even more heightened because of what's at stake for France. So to be involved in that game is great. It's now just about focusing on our game and bringing that out for as long as we can and beyond, like pushing ourselves physically and being together throughout that 80 minutes. That's going to be very important.
The recent games with France have been really tight. It's never been a team kind of stretched away. What do you put that down to? Is that stylistically between the teams, or what's your opinion on it?
Yeah, well, from our perspective, we've played well in the games. We've had to recover at times from 2 red cards in the last 2 or 3 games against them. One that we got back into position 2 years ago at Stade de France to really put them under pressure, and in a World Cup warm-up game to come back and win with 14 men. I think we obviously, our players, that's a big reason why we've gone well in this fixture. Our players are a quality group. They thrive in that atmosphere. They thrive with the challenge, and this is what we're asking them to do again this weekend.
Gregor Brown in for his first Six Nations start. What have you seen from him, and what's made you think that he's the man to come into the team this weekend?
Yeah, well, I think he's done really well off the bench. I thought his energy brought at the weekend, and his carrying was excellent. Came very close to scoring a try. He is very good in the line-out, really athletic, technically really strong, same as scrum time as well, technically very good. And he's shown for us, but also for Glasgow, that he can perform at the highest level in the second row position. It allows us to have someone who has got the skill of a back rower, the speed of a back rower, but the technical ability of a second rower to bring that out from the start this week.
Well, this game can't necessarily change the outcome of the table too much. How important is it in terms of dictating the vibe going into the summer, in terms of good tournament, bad tournament, in terms of the way you evaluate it?
Well, we'll evaluate every game and what we could have done better and where we were, and we'll definitely get a balance of what is causing oppositions trouble and creating opportunities for us both in attack and defence, and where we need to improve. It's up to others to evaluate where we are. I feel strongly that this has been a very good tournament in terms of how we've played. I think of the performances just in the last 2 games. Down at Twickenham was one of the best performances I've seen from this team. And then to come off the back of a narrow defeat and show some outstanding rugby against Wales. I think it was a record points we've ever scored in the first half in a championship game. The team involvement as well, like the team tries, was great to see. Darcy's try went through 11 phases and had 11 different players on the ball. Like, those are very encouraging, that it's team performances that are giving us chances to score.
Gregor, 2 years ago, you played really, really well. After that start, you played incredibly well. But it was a slow start. You've been fast starters this Six Nations. How important is a fast start on Saturday?
Yeah, look, I think it's important we don't have a slow start. I think sometimes games turn different ways. Sometimes they're arm wrestles at the beginning. The start 2 years ago was obviously hugely affected by the red card, and that in those days it was an 80-minute red card for a full game. So you just have to adapt, and France got a lot of momentum because of that red card. I think they scored straight after that. Now they're balanced out, 14 apiece, and it became a really open game, and our players thrived in that open game. France did try to tighten up in the second half, and they were effective to be able to slow down the momentum. So whatever type of game it turns out to be, we've got to make sure that we are controlling the momentum as much as possible. And when the momentum goes the way of France, which it will do at times, then we're staying in that moment. And that's usually a defensive moment or a set piece moment to deliver what we feel we're capable of delivering.
If you look at the stats in terms of your quarters, points conceded, it gets worse and worse as the quarters go on. I think an average of 17 in the first quarter, 24, 25 to 30. What does that tell you, and how do you improve on that balance?
Yeah, you want to improve in certain areas, but you're obviously looking at one part. You're not looking at the other part, which is how we've gone about scoring a lot of points and not conceding at the start of games. And look, there's context in last week that we'd scored 4 tries in the first half, got the bonus point, scored another try in the second half, and I made the call of getting players off earlier to protect them for the big week coming up, the final game of the Six Nations. And we didn't get the flow that you really want from changes, but you know it's inevitable that might happen. And also the opposition are coming back. And I don't think that's unusual in rugby. Like if we kept on, scoring, I think it would be rare to put 50 points on a very good Welsh team. And you see that from other games. I think Ireland scored 2 tries in the last few minutes of the game last week. I remember England scoring 2 tries in the last few minutes of the Ireland game. Like, teams do come back when they're well behind. So yeah, we know we've got to make sure that the 80 minutes we're still showing as much effort as we are at the start of games. But I feel we're doing that. I felt last week we did that. We dominated the last 10 minutes of the game. We were over the try line and scored a try. But although it wasn't seen by the referee, we were back held up over the try line. And the same happened in England. I thought the effort at the end of the game at Twickenham showed that this team can do as well at the end of the game as we're doing at the start.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We got you back.